What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fish Lift Eat podcast. We appreciate you joining us again this week. Got the normal Fish Lift Eat crew with me. We got Justin and Papa. What's going on, boys?
What's up, brother?
Finally made it back.
Nice,
Glad to have
big old beard there, buddy.
What?
we got an awesome guest with us today. Should be able to leave nothing short of inspired after this one's all said and done. We got Derek DeMunn with us, or better known as the T8 Outdoorsman. What's up, man?
Not much. How are you guys doing? Just stoked to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, fired up to have you on.
Hell yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah, we've got to hear you over on the Hunt Lift Eat podcast, and we got you on the team here, so we kind of get to see some of your stuff pretty frequently. But I'm excited for our listeners to get to learn a little bit about you and kind of some of the adventures you go on. And I don't want to go ahead and dive too far into it without letting you get a chance to give your background and how you got into all this. But man, there's definitely some good fishing stories about to come out of this one.
Yeah, it's just a blessing to be here. Like I said, my name's Derek. I'm a T8 paraplegic. It means I'm paralyzed from the chest down, and it's been an adventure. It's been a mission, but I'm just super blessed to be here. I got hurt snowboarding. I used to travel the world snowboarding, and now I'm passionate outdoorsman, hunting and fishing as much as I possibly can, going all over the world to see what the blessings we have here, and there's lots of them. So absolutely pumped to be here.
So we got to have a chance to meet. Geez, I don't know, man. It was on Instagram, right? That's how we teamed up a while back, probably February of this past year.
Yeah, back around there.
I think our first foray together was a Instagram live, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. It was only like 15 minutes long, but it was cool. It was a cool little chat.
It was awesome because in that 15 minutes, I was like, I got no damn excuses. So that's why we had you later, on the actual show and got to really dive into it, man, because you inspired Chad and I at that point, right? Chad was just trying to be like, I just want to go outside and go fish. And I think that was the advice you gave us back then was like, dude, just get out the damn door and go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super cool, man. So I'm really stoked to have you back on here with these guys, especially after all the Instagram fish porn I've seen, right? So it's going to be fun to kind of dive through some of that.
Absolutely. Love to share the story, share, how everything behind the scenes goes as well. Super pumped.
So we know you hunt, man. And we'll leave that for the other guys and anybody who wants to go check out your Instagram. But this last year, man, you've done a hell of a lot of fishing.
Yeah. I've been bouncing around. I live in Southern California, and we have an absolute killer fishery out here. Every summer, the currents come up from out of Mexico, and they bring all sorts of just beautiful tropical fish: yellowtail, bluefin, wahoo, every tropical big game fish you could possibly think of. So that's where I got my first little pole wet out here in the ocean, just off the beach. I'm about 5 miles from the ocean, and we got a bunch of harbors, so you get the kayaks out, the float tubes, do bass fishing, halibut, get your rockfish, whatever you're feeling like that day, it's out there. So you just got to go out there and get a line wet.
I'm jealous, right? I usually get the props from being in Colorado because we got good fishing out here, and then Papa will always probably chime in about his stocked fish he gets to go after, and Casey over here. Casey's a bass guy, right? So it's kind of cool to get you on at this point, right? Because we've had mostly, we had Taylor on, right, from Fish or Die, and he gets up, off the coast and gets some stuff. But it sounds like from what we've seen and what we've heard, man, you've got a run of everything at this point.
They all. I want to catch them all. I'm a Pokemon master, dude. So I'm just trying to. That's all I want to do is just catch everything possible. You know, especially the ones that people don't think someone in a wheelchair could catch. Those are the ones that mean the most.
Yeah.
So, and then just getting out on a float tube in the mountains. You know, like. That's honestly catching big game is a massive adrenaline rush, especially when you land it. But there's nothing just like sitting in the mountains with no wind on a float tube, just bobbing around with the fly and just relaxing. You know, I have a drink on your side. You're super comfortable. Those float tubes are like a love seat on water, man. I'm absolutely addicted.
That's really cool, man. Like, we got to get you out here to Colorado. We missed each other in, what was that, like August, September? But
Yeah.
we'll get you out here. You got some family out here in Colorado, right?
Yeah, I have most of my family's out in Colorado. A lot of like the Denver area, Fort Morgan, eastern Colorado, out in the sticks. Yeah, they're sprinkled all over the place out there. So yeah, definitely would be stoked to be out there.
So what if next time you're out in Colorado, what are you trying to hit when you're out here? Like, what's your target?
The most scenic. I'm more into the scenery, man. I could catch 4-inch brook trout for all I care, man. As long as I'm surrounded by scenic, because where I live, man, it's not like a city, but it's a suburb. You know, you got tons of people, traffic, all that stuff, dude. So I like to get places where I can't hear anybody. You know, all I want to hear is like squirrels and birds, and that's the one time I like squirrels. When they come into your hunt, dude, they gotta die. So
They gotta die. You gotta get dead right quick. I like where you set the bar too, man. So when you come to Colorado, I'll know that you're shooting for 4-inch, brookies and browns. I can get you those. I can't get you anything better than that.
all good. Yeah, that's from you. That's what I expect.
I knew you'd say something like that. So we got a cool picture here, dude. I want to pull this guy up. You stop laughing over there, guys. This is a fish this year, yeah, out Cali.
No, that fish is actually from a couple years ago, but that fish right there started a domino effect that absolutely changed my life. So, yeah, it was me and a buddy went out. Me, my buddy, and my dad went out to down here in Southern California, Dana Point. It's a really rich area, but they got a cool little tiny harbor, and we went down to the went down there on our kayaks, and my buddy had a live bait well, and he we got a scoop of bait, and when we got our bait, and we're out there, we're not catching nothing all day, man. It was brutal. But it was just nice being out on the kayaks, but I get a fresh bait, when you're fishing those little sardines and the anchovies, it's constantly every 3 minutes you want to be switching out your bait. So I go and I get a fresh bait on and cast it out, and boom, we're fishing right next to a jetty, and I'm lodged in the rocks, or I thought I was lodged in the rocks, but because we were probably 15, 20 feet from the jetty. And those jetty rocks, if no one's familiar with them, they're big boulders. They're several ton rocks, so they're not small rocks. So I was like, oh no, I'm hooked up, I'm yanking as hard as I can, just yanking, dude, and nothing. Like I was yanking so hard, my thought my line would snap, but I was on 50-pound braid and then tied off to 15-pound mono. So we're going from there, and then I'm just yanking. I'm like, dang, dude, like nothing's happening. And I get my kayak and I paddle a little bit towards the rock, and I give it one more yank. And I don't know what happened within me paddling that 5-6 feet distance, but that guy absolutely took off on a scream. My line, just going. I was like, oh, this. I was like, here we go, baby. You know, like that's the sound every fisherman loves to hear. Is just when your reel is just ripping, dude. So, go, and it took me probably 15 minutes to get that guy on board.
Nice.
But so with those halibut, it takes forever to get them off the ground. But once you get them off the ground, they kind of go dormant because they're a bottom fish, a flat fish that they live their whole lives basically on the ground, just, you know, hovering for fish around there. So when they get up, it's dead weight. So you're fighting, and then they'll have probably like, he gave me probably 2 or 3 runs. So it was dead weight for like 5 minutes, and boom, he took off. Probably another 10, 15 seconds of just solid peeling line. And by this time, you know, like we're on our kayaks and we got people in boats surrounding us. Like everyone's like, oh, you know, like you got a fish on, a big fish. So everyone's all stoked on it, and we're going, and I'm fighting, get him up to the lines. Well, my buddy that I was fishing with that had the live bait well on his thing, he's a passionate halibut fisherman. And he you know, he didn't have eyes on it, but when I got my first eyes on color, my mind was blown. Biggest halibut I've ever seen in my life. So I was like, oh my gosh, dude! I was like, it's a monster halibut. He's like, yeah, right, whatever. And but thankful for him, he had a giant net, and without that net, I don't know how I would have had to bonk that thing in the head with a rod or something, but. We ended up getting him up to the line, and when my buddy finally saw color on that fish, it was the biggest. So where we're from in Southern California, the biggest halibut I've ever seen was 40 inches, and that was caught in like the 70s. I didn't personally see it, just photos. So this one that I caught was 36 inches and 15 pounds. So it was massive, and me and my buddy were absolutely losing it when we got it up to the kayaks, and he got it in the net, and I didn't want to like get excited or anything because a lot can still happen, you know, until that thing's dead or you get a gaff in it, or, you know, like until that thing is like 100% secured down, don't count your chickens, you know. So, but then, you know, we MacGyvered like a metal rod with it was like a big safety pin type deal that they use for halibut. Shoved it through the gill plate, came out, hooked it up to where he wasn't going anywhere, dude. And me and my buddy just absolutely lost it, dude. We were like high-fiving each other in the kayaks. We're almost flipped over in our kayaks. Like everyone around us is like hooting and hollering and clapping and cheering, and people were like, yeah, man, congrats, dude. And yeah, that was cool in of itself, but yeah, it was cool too because it was like me and like one of my best friends, you know what I mean? I wouldn't have caught that fish if it wasn't for him, you know, and vice versa, you know, like obviously he wouldn't have netted it if it wasn't for me, but I wouldn't have caught it if it wasn't for his big net and his gaff and all that stuff. So it was just cool to catch one with one of your best friends right by your side. And yeah, that fish started me down a track of hunting giant halibuts, dude. So stoked.
Awesome. I gotta ask though, dude. Like, look at your face. What are you
fired
thinking?
up, dude?
He's
Fired up.
What are you thinking right then? When they're snapping that.
Yeah.
He's thinking he's gonna eat good tonight.
Just pumped. Oh yeah, dude. The steaks on that thing, man, were like 5 inches thick.
Oh, nice.
Good, like just massive, just chunks, man. Like it was stoked. Just. Yeah, beautiful fish. And I did. I had a buddy. I don't know if you guys seen what they do. They do it a lot out here, but they put like rice paper and black water paint, and we covered it in black water paint and rolled the rice paper over it and pressed down on the fish and formed that black water paint over the fish, and then you peel that rice paper off, and it's got a perfect picture of your fish.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if you guys know
That's
what I'm talking
slick.
about, but it's really cool. I can see it right now on my wall. Like it looks pretty badass. I'm stoked on it.
Yeah, you have to send us a picture of that, dude. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
I didn't know you guys did that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. I was like, man, should I get this thing taxidermy? And I was like, that's gonna be like $1,000 easily. And it just dawned on me, my buddy does it for giant bluefin. He actually does it for a business. So I hit him up real quick. I was like, hey, bro, remember that one time in high school I cut you a discount on that weed, and I need a favor, bro. Like 20 years later, brother, hey man, I need rice paper and paint. I got a giant halibut, dude. So I don't know if that's how it went down, but yeah, he came through, man. I'm just super stoked, and we went and built a frame for it. My dad builds art frames, and I went and got a little glass sheet to fit in the frame, and yeah, now it's forever on the wall, and hell of a lot cheaper than taxidermy. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
No
for sure.
kidding.
That's awesome. So you're talking about the big steaks on that thing. What's the preferred way to cook a halibut?
Honestly, like we've done a lot. I like them. You chunk them up and you bread them, and then, deep fry them like that. That's pretty good. But honestly, like the halibut is so flaky, and the flakes are an inch thick. Like they're just like solid mouth watering. You don't even really need to season them at all. But I just go a little light on the salt, light on pepper, medium on the garlic, and a little bit of lemon. That's like the preferred recipe out here. Is just like lemon, garlic, salt, and a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Or you don't even really need much, but it's just And then you just throw it on the frying pan, or wrap it in some tin foil, throw it on the barbecue, and delicious. I actually had some tonight, some from Alaska. So yeah, just amazing.
So you said that kind of fired you up for where you were headed on the fishing trail. So this year you made it out to Alaska, yeah?
Yes, I did. Yeah, so the past couple of years I've been going out the very last week in July. So I got to start. So with that fish, that halibut that I caught on the kayak, I went and was able to. I posted it on my Instagram, and then I shot it to this. I'm friends with these guys over. They're called Disabled Outdoorsman USA, and my buddies over there. I went and I posted it, and I tagged them in it, and they posted it on their page. And a guy had hit me up. He's like, my title on the fish was like, my personal best. I'm super stoked. This is what an amazing fish. Just super blessed to be out here. Blah, blah, blah. And the guy's like, that's your personal best? ? He's like, why don't you come out to Alaska and beat it? I was like, why don't you come out to Alaska and beat it? Yeah, of course I would, you freaking prick, dude. Like, who wouldn't, dude? Like, are you being sarcastic? Like, you're a clown, dude. But he's like, and he direct messages me on Instagram. He's like, no, I'm serious. He's like, this is who I am. Research my name. He gave me his name. I looked him up. He ended up being the #1 ranked Paralympian skier in the world. And native Alaskan, grew up in Alaska, has a boat out there. And he's actually paralyzed from the waist down. So he has a lot more core and trunk control that I don't have. Like I'm kind of a bobblehead when I'm bouncing around here, but he's got a lot of more control. And so I posted that photo. 8 days later, I got round trip tickets to Alaska for 8 days, and I was like, well, here we go. He's like, yeah, I got an Airbnb up here. He's like, I'll hook you up. You can stay half price. And we stayed up. We had 8 days, 7 nights in Alaska for like $200.
Yeah, you can't.
No, dude, I was all over it, man. And we went and me and the buddy went and hit it up, and it was insane. My buddy took us on his boat, and it was cool too. With so we went out there, and it was in Alaska. We fished probably like southwest Alaska, pretty close to the Canadian border. Not so close, but flying to Anchorage and drive south about an hour and a half, or north to a town called Palmer. And Palmer was where home base was. And then we drove about 2 hours. You drive about hour and 45, 2 hours to go launch your boat. we launched the boat, but out there it rains consistently. Like every single day you can count on rain. But with that last week in July that I was told to come out there and target, that's when you get your most sunny days in throughout the calendar year on average. So you try to, you just, you throw the dice where they fall where they go, but at least you got, statistics and it's a little bit of backing on possibly getting some sunny days in there. But yeah, we went out there and our first day, man, it was just torrential rain, just piss and rain. And we're out there and I'm like, dude, like, is this cool out here, bro? Like, we're in Alaska, dude. The water's 35 degrees, dude. And he's like, oh, no, this is minor. He's like, as long as the seas are under 3 foot, he's like, my boat's all good, dude. And out there in Alaska, they have metallic boats. Like, down here in a lot of other places, they're fiberglass boats. And but up there, they're metal because you got giant logs and all kinds of stuff floating in the water and just insane. But my buddy he's just smashing. We're getting out there, and it's just torrential rain. And he's like, "Are you guys good?" He's like, "You wanna pack it in?" I'm like, "No, dude. I came all the way to Alaska. I'm not gonna let a little rain. As long as I'm warm, dude, I'm cool. I could be as wet as possible. As long as I'm warm, I'm good, dude. Let's do this." And we're going, yeah, and he's like my buddy's got so many spots on lock up there. He's like, well, do you want to catch medium? You'll catch medium halibut, well, you catch a lot. Or we could go catch giants and you'll catch a little bit. He's like, what do you want to do? He's like, or we could catch rockfish. We could do this or that. I was like, I want giants, dude. Like when you think of Alaska and you think of halibut, you think giant halibut. You know what I mean? So I was like, I want to get my name on one of those bad boys. So he's like, all right, so we're going. Smash out to the area. It's pissing rain, super foggy. You can't see probably 30 yards, 40 yards in front of you. It's just socked in, and we're out there 2 hours off of the coast of Alaska, in the middle of the water, foggy, pissing rain. I'm like looking around. I was like, dude, if something happens, we're smoked out here, dude. Like you're on your own when you're that far out. But it was cool. And we go and I get a jig, and the jigs out there are super, super heavy because you're fishing, man. We're fishing 400 to 600 feet down. So like you're when you drop that jig, it takes 2 to 3 minutes for that thing to get down to the bottom, maybe even more, maybe even longer than that. Like, and then they use up there, their bait fish is called herring. They just have insane amounts of herring that go up there, and then like you get those herring migrate up there, and then the halibut follow them, and the halibut migrate following those herring. And so you just get you get a herring. A herring is probably 6 inches long, and you just chunk it up in half or thirds, and threw it on one of these jigs and dropped the jig down. And we didn't drop anchor or anything. We're just sitting there, and he's like, all right, you hit the bottom, just start jigging, you just bounce it, let it hit the ground, bounce it, let it hit the ground, bounce, just keep doing that. And while the boat's floating away, you're covering ground and whatnot. So we're going, and then boom, I hooked up, and right away I knew it was a fish because I hooked up and it took a little bit of line, but then it stopped. And my buddy's like, oh, you got at the bottom. I was like, no, dude. I was like, I swear to God, bro, that's a fish, dude. Like, I promise you that's a fish. He's like, no. He's like, believe me, dude. He's like, I've fished out here my whole life, dude. Like, I was like, trust me, bro. I've been fishing my whole life. I know what a fish is. A fish is a fish, like. And he goes, all right, well, and I can't get this thing. It's not moving. I'm like, damn, dude. Maybe like the fish ate it and swam into the reef and hooked and lodged me into the rocks. I was like, damn, dude. Like, it was a big fish. I hope this is not the case. But then we start floating. So my buddy flips the boat, turns the boat on, and drives back over, because if it was lodged in the rocks, we were gonna, get over on top of it and pop it out. Dude, we got on top of that, and I gave it one hard yank, and this thing just took off to freaking Japan, dude. Like it was gone, dude. I was like, man, they'll turn you into sushi up there. You come back here, I'll help you out, dude. And like this thing's just burning, dude. And my buddy's like, oh shit. He's like, you got a giant, dude. I was like, oh, I got a giant, you start puckering up, dude. You get all excited, and then you reel in, man. And once that, like I said with that other fish, I got that thing off the bottom, dude. It became a barn door. It was so heavy, and like with me not having good core control, I can't just pull up with both hands. Like I have to have one hand on the railing and one hand on the rod, so I can push down and push up, and then reel down, push down, and push that rod up, reel down, pull up. Just do that. Did that whole gig, and dude, it took a good. Well, you know, when you're catching a fish, you're like, oh, that took like an hour, dude, but it was really like 5 minutes, 6 minutes, if that. But like I counted every second. I probably realistically it was probably 10 to 15 minutes. But we got the thing up to the top, and it was so big he couldn't gaff it. So he has a harpoon, and he gets his harpoon out and ties a rope to it, and he goes and just whoom, and my buddy is paralyzed from the waist down. Alaskan dude just chucks this harpoon, nails this fish burns out, and he's like, "You all right, bro? You can relax. We got it from here." And we brought this thing on board, and it was absolute unit, dude.
Wait, is that one I have a picture of that you sent over?
Yeah, it's a tank. It was so big I couldn't hold it up. My dad had to help me up.
Look at that
120 pounds, dude.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah,
that's a little bit bigger than your 15-pound Cali one.
Yeah, dude, it absolutely was, and the fight was insane, man. I mean, you can't really tell in the background. The sky looks like there's sun and a little bit of clouds, but it was like God must have parted the seas like he did for Moses or something, bro. Because when I was fighting that fish, it was full on Alaska. Like it was raining and foggy, and there's like a little bit of swell. So I was like, oh, you know, I felt like full on like those guys that catch the lobsters. Although I'm like,
yeah, man, it's a good thing.
Nowhere near as manly as that, but
it's a good thing you work out the way you do, man. If you're pulling in fish like that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to work out very hard for those little, 6-inch brownies, so I'm good. But
yeah, no, this thing definitely put in a workout. My left forearm was like 4 times the size of my right forearm by the time I got that fish in. Like putting so much pressure on pulling that thing up and then reeling down and then pulling up. Yeah, my forearm was stacked, dude. It was crazy. I look like Popeye.
That's awesome. So while you're out there in Alaska, you did that trip, but you got around for some other stuff, right? I got some other pictures here. So maybe you guys are good. Let's pop through some of this fish porn because you got that guy.
Yeah. So that was actually this past year. And we went on I met a guy out there. So my buddy who owned that boat that we went fishing on, he's got connects all over the place. You need something you want to do? He's like, I got a guy. He grew up doing that, living out there, doing that whole deal. So he hooked me up with this salmon guide on a river, and name's Corey Berg. His website is www.bergsfrontierfishingguides.com, and he's got a boat, and like you can kind of tell from that it's probably a 14-foot boat, but he takes you up the rivers, and you can target what time of year you're in Alaska, like from May to mid-June, late May to mid-June. Those are when the king salmon come in, the giant salmon, those 50, 60-pound salmon. That's about their window. And then there's a little break, and then the end of July all throughout August, that's when like the real migration of salmon come through Alaska, and you got your silver salmon, your cohos, your pinks. You name a species of salmon, that's about the time they come through. So we went out there, and not a cloud in the sky. Couldn't ask for more. Fishing in T-shirts in Alaska, and we're fishing all day on that boat, not catching nothing. And there's a certain point where you could only, like in the year, where you could only fish lures. And then once it hits August 1st, you could fish bait. And the bait that they use for the salmon is called shoot, dude. But it's like salmon eggs clumped up together in big wads like this. The name's spacing me, but on that trip we were using lures and not catching nothing. And then the schools, they come through and then it'll go dead. And then a school will come through and then it'll go dead. A school came through and boom, I hooked up right away. These salmon are jumping, 5-6 feet out of the water. Like, so when they go from the salt water into the fresh water, they stop eating. They only bite the lures or the bait that you put in front of them as like an aggression tactic for mating reasons. Because once they get into that fresh water, their mind switches over from feeding and growing to mating. So once you get into that fresh water, they, their tactics are just aggression bites. You bring that thing in front of them, it'll bite it out of just because you pissed it off. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I just threw a lure out there. Bam! Did he hit it? Caught it. I was super stoked because we had gone probably an hour before that without catching nothing. When you're not catching anything, you kind of get down on yourself and you're like, dang, dude, like this wasn't cheap. Spend this money. We came all the way to Alaska. I'm not gonna catch a fish, dude. But it only takes one cast, dude, to change your whole trip, dude. And boom, nabbed him. And then we got him back out, and I cast another line. Next cast, boom, hit that same school, dude. And I plucked out another one. So up there, not those ones.
I'm looking through all your pictures, man. I have too many pictures catching fish here.
But it was cool. Yeah, I got on that same school, and up there your limit on salmon is 2. Okay. Yeah, for silver salmon, yeah, I got 2, and I caught my limits, and my day was done, dude. And then yeah, my buddy ended up plucking a couple out as well, and we went home happy and merry, and yeah, super stoked. They're pretty big too, man. That one in the picture and weighed out at like 12 pounds. So. But yeah, chunky little salmon, dude.
That's killer.
Yeah, that's a pretty fish.
Well, I had a 10-pound and a 12-pound. That might be the 10, but I don't know, 2 pounds, whatever. Potato.
Whatever, man. It's all. All right, so talk to us about this one. What's this all about?
So yeah, those are called yellow eye, and they're a species of rockfish. That was actually the same day I got in on that giant halibut. So you can see the kind of gear we're dressed in. I'm head to toe in rain gear. You can see the fog in the background on there. But those guys, so if I had any choice of any fish other than halibut, it would be those yellow eye rockfish. They're a lot better eating than the halibut. They're sweeter. It's weird to say it, but it's a sweeter meat. But those fish are around the same depth, man. They're probably 400 to 600 feet down, and they get chunky out here in Southern California. We got them. They're probably about around the 400-foot mark, but they're nowhere near as big as those. Those guys were 15 pushing 20 pounds, and they're insane. If you want to pull that picture up real quick, Justin.
The same one?
Yeah, that same one with those yellow eyes. So if you look at them and see how their eyes are actually popped out of their skulls. So they live at such deep depths down in the ocean. You're fishing 400 or 600 feet. The pressure down there is immense. When you bring them up out of those depths, their eyes pop out and their stomachs pop out through their mouth. So their tongue will probably be like 5-6 inches out of its mouth. Their tongue, you can't see the tongue because we're holding them vertical. But yeah, their eyes bulge out of their head. If you catch too many of them, you can put a hook and a weight down on them and drop them down to that, however deep you caught them, and yank that hook out, and they'll actually repressurize their eyes, and their stomachs and their tongues will actually sink back into their head, and they'll swim off.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, insane. But yeah, yellow eye rockfish, the tastiest fish outside of bluefin tuna I have ever had in my life.
That's
like
awesome.
we had another local boy on that trip helping us out, and we kicked him down some fish, and he took all the fish he took was yellow eye. So he was like, yeah, man, I don't want halibut. I'm good on that, but delicious.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to look that up, man. I never heard of that. That's pretty cool.
That is crazy. So out in Alaska, have you chased any other species besides the halibut and the yellow eye?
Just the halibut, yellow eye, got the silver salmon, coho salmon, fished for kings, but I wasn't able to get on them. They're fickle, you know, like because like I said, like once they start getting into the fresh water, they stop eating. So you really have to get your bait or your lure like right in front of their face to piss them off, so where they snap out of aggression. But keep casting lines. You never know, man. And the thing is, too, is out in Alaska when you're fishing at that deep at depths, like you kind of have an idea of what's gonna bite, but you never know. There's so many species of rockfish out there. Like we're pulling up fish with 6-inch spines on their back, just like razor sharp spines on their back and their fins, and those things will stab you easily. They could easily go through you, no problem, no problem.
Wow.
Yeah, those things are built to survive. That's for dang sure.
So we got this one too. What's the story here?
Those are good old California yellowtail. Those guys come up out of Mexico, and we get on them. I was on that trip. Was a Father's Day trip. I'm actually part of a Christian fishing club called Fibbers, and we do several charters every year. And this year they had the opportunity. They're like, "Oh, do you want to go for bass? And we'll catch a lot of bass, or we can go and target the yellowtail." He's like, "We might not get them, and it'll be a lot longer. You'll have less time to fish, but if we get on them, you know, we'll score." Everyone on the boat was instantly like, "Yellowtail, dude. Like, we're not here for 14-inch fish, dude." So we went and sat by the island, and we fished for probably 6 hours, and we're not catching nothing. And the captain and the deckhands are like, "Watch, dude, this 12:30 mark, dude." So you get on that boat around 6. It took us 2 hours it took us about 2 hours to get into the zone to fish. And dude, it was just super sick. Excuse me, boys, my camera's dying on me, dude. There we go. But yeah,
Man, it's too much. It's too much memory with all these amazing pictures.
dude, we're having fun. So yeah, got on those yellowtail at 12:30, 1 o'clock mark, dude. These fish came boiling in, and they come in big old schools, and they're just boiling all around. And as soon as the captain pulls them up on the radar on the fish finder, he's like, "Bait, bait, bait!" And they get these big nets, and they just scoop these baits, and they're chucking pounds of bait in the water, you know, to keep those fish, because the fish are constantly on the move looking for food. But when they find that food, they'll stop and they'll boil around and they'll munch, you know. So bait, 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 chucking baits. We're going out, and everyone usually they're all biting on one side, so everybody migrates to that side of the boat, casting out. Boom, dude, I hook up instantly, man. And in my position, like being in a wheelchair, it's pretty tough, especially when there's other people on the boat, you know. Like I'm constantly like, "Hey, heads up, coming through." And when you're fishing with that many people on a rail on a boat, your lines tangled galore, dude. It's a cluster, man. But so you got to go over, under, over, under, over. You know, just now you're navigating fishing lines while you're fighting fish. So there's a reason they call it battle fishing. You know what I mean? Everyone's out there for themselves, you know. And so we're going, and yeah, I'm fighting it, and then one of the deckhands ends up coming over and grabs the back of my chair. He's like, "Focus on the fish. I got you, man." I was like, "All right, cool, dude." So we went and was focusing on the fish and just fighting it, dude. Fighting, and super pumped. Ended up getting him in. They go and they grab the gaff. The thing, we see color. Guy goes, "Color," and another deckhand runs over, grabs the gaff. These gaffs are like 15 feet long, because from the deck of the boat down to the bottom of the water is probably 8 feet. 6-8 feet around there. You know, they're big boats. They're 50-60 foot boats.
Yeah.
So, and then you got your railing, and you're up and down, and just super stoked. Got him on board, and then I ended up catching I caught 2, and then my dad caught 2. And it was just cool because my dad had never caught a fish of that caliber. He was always catching like little bass, and we go up to like high elevation trout where you're catching those stalkers that are like 12-inch trout. Like, you're cool, you're stoked, you're catching fish, but you're like, oh man, you know, like I want a stud. Yeah, buddy, get some. Uh,
Now
He
you're
just
talking.
yeah, it was
effectively
cool.
like
We
threw
got
off on me and Papa all in that one
Fucking
session. I ain't gonna pull no
stalker
bass or no stalker fish.
yeah, we got them out here too, man. Hey, it is what it is, dude. We're out there to have fun, and they're fun. But yeah,
Yeah.
man, ended up catching Pops caught his first fish, and he's never used to like he's used to those stalkers, dude. And these things are just they pull so hard you have to rest your rod on the railing, or a lot of not so much the yellowtail, but when you get into the bigger fish, those fish will pull you over if you don't lower yourself and rest that rod on the rail and use the fulcrum of the rod against the rail to give you some benefit, and just super stoked. It was a super fun Father's Day trip, and yeah, we fished 5 hours. Everyone caught a ton of fish, dude, and yeah, it was a sick trip.
How many people are on that boat when you're doing that?
That boat, oh man, that trip was probably it was a short load, 20.
Huh.
But yeah, but still 20 people and you're battle fishing, and it's a pain in the butt, dude. But we had fun.
Sounds intense, man.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Lot different from the squirrels and the birds by yourself out in Colorado.
Yeah. Well, like I say, yeah, those fish are in a straight adrenaline rush. I like the other fishing personally better, but they each have their place.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
for sure.
You get out there, everyone on the boat, you have a couple beers, everyone's all fired up and pumped up, and you're catching big fish, and all the testosterone's flowing around. Everyone's all stoked. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well,
So Derek, I know you've talked about some awesome fishing adventures, and you kind of talked about your situation and stuff like that. And all I can keep thinking about is the stupid excuses that I can come up with sometimes, like if I don't want to go fishing or for whatever it may be. And now, I mean, you're a living example of if you want to go do it, there's absolutely no excuse not to do it. And that's
get
just
out, get it
awesome.
done, man. There's plenty of excuses. There were several years in my life where I just made tons of excuses and moping and just felt bad for myself. My life's over. I went from traveling the world snowboarding to being in a wheelchair. I was like, man, this sucks. I'm done. I give up. Life's over with. And eventually, you dig yourself into that hole. You got to dig yourself out, and that hole could easily suck you down, and it won't spit you out. You got to climb and crawl and fight your ass out of that, dude. So, but once you get out of that, man, there's just a blessing on the other side. Life is beautiful, and there's just so much to do it. Like, you can make excuses, like there's a lot of times where there are situations I run into where I can't do it on my own, and I need some assistance from. I don't care. It's like, well, do I ask for assistance and I go and have a kick-ass time, or I sit here and mope that I can't do something and let that opportunity fly by me? And it's like, I'd rather die rich in memories than rich in money, dude. So I'm just trying to, like we need money. We need to work, all that. Yeah, it's obvious, but you guys know what I'm saying to a degree. It's like,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you can let life pass you by and be like, oh, I don't want to be on my deathbed and be like, oh, I wish I would have done that. Oh, that would have been cool to do. But now it's like I have pictures and videos on now on my deathbed. I want people to be like, dude, remember when we did this? I'm like, oh, that was kick ass, dude. Like, yeah.
Oh,
So that's
yeah.
the goal.
What's killer, man, is when we've had these conversations in the past, it was like opening that one door and walking through it opens more doors, right? So sitting around doesn't get you where you want to go. And for you, it seems like every time you take a shot at a new adventure, 2 or 3 pop up right after, right? Because of what you just did. And I think that's the key to life, man. Like, and that's kind of what it sounds like you finally found is, dude, walk through the damn door, go.
Yeah. Yeah, kid, throw the dice, dude. You never know where it's gonna fall, what number's gonna fall, what's gonna become of that. Like, I went out fishing on a random Saturday with my friend for fish that we catch all the time, and I just so happened to catch a giant. Next thing I know, 10 days later, I'm pulling in 120-pound Alaskan halibut. You know what I mean? Like, you never know what opportunities God's going to put in your life. You know, He works all things together for good to those that love Him. And you put yourself out there like, yeah, God's going to help you, but you still got to row the boat, dude. Like, you still got to get out there and paddle, dude. He's not just going to put an engine on your boat out of nowhere. It's not going to fall out of the sky. You gotta put some effort into it and some backbone, and you know, hard work pays off, dude, in all aspects of life.
Pretty awesome, man. And like even recently, right? Some new cool stuff came your way. I just saw your picture. You sent it to me yesterday, right? You got that new badass track chair.
Yeah, buddy.
Dude, I don't have that. If you want to see that, get over there on TH's Instagram, right? You got it up there yet? Did you put it out? Or was it just?
Dude. Yeah, I got all kinds of track chair porn up there now, brother. You know this, dude. My Tinder profile is fire, dude. You should see that thing.
Yeah, it's pretty badass, man.
Yeah, it's cool, dude. I'm stoked. I think I'm finally gonna be able to get to some places where I haven't been able to get before. You know what I mean? Like, cause like, yeah, you can have people help you, but then there's times too where those people can't get you to certain areas, dude.
Well, remember when you hit me up coming to Colorado and you're like, hey man, where can I head out? And I was like, fuck this, I got to think this through, right? Now I'm seeing your track chair and I'm going, dude, you can go with me to my spot. That thing will get you there. We'll knock down some trees to get there, but we'll get there.
We'll smash, dude. Yeah, I got a sawzall. I'll pack it and
There's just no excuses, man. No excuses.
Yeah, just get some S straps and we'll strap it down to the back, dude, and we'll get her done.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
Well, man, out of all the fishing adventures that you've done recently, or just any time in your lifetime, what's the one that stands out the most?
I gotta say this bad boy sitting here behind me. I don't know if you guys can see it, but on the podcast, but
I've been eyeballing that big lizard ever since we got on here.
Yeah, dude, I got a 12-foot alligator, man.
Oh,
look at that.
Yeah, I think it was an absolute unit, dude. So we go out. We're on a 14-foot center console out in Florida. We're just smashing around, and I'm out there with a guy's pretty popular on Instagram. His name's Python Cowboy. He's down there.
I know you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, shooting lizards, iguanas, catching alligators, all kind of shit. Guy's an absolute badass, cool country boy, dude. Same age as me, dude. We hit it off right away, just shooting and shit, like having a good old time, you know. I'm throwing a couple back on the boat, dry. So we get out there and we're just smashing out there, and we get the glass up, you know. We got your binos and we're looking over the area, and I'd never seen an alligator before, so I had no idea what to look for. And I saw my first alligator, and I was like, oh, there's one right there. There's an alligator. And I panned back over to where I was just looking, and, dude, there was like 30 to 40 alligators. I thought, like, I could have swore that was logs or, like, seaweed or moss, but no, they're lizards, and their eyes pop out, you know what I mean? And that sun hits off their eyeballs, and they're all glowing. It's super eerie, but we got on them, man, and we found this guy, this gator that I harvested, and out there, what the way we did it is they get a raw chicken and they fill it with this white stuff. I'm not sure what the white stuff was called, but it makes the chicken float. And they wrapped rope around the chicken and then tied the chicken off to like 300-pound mono. And then they tied a 300-pound mono to like 500-600-pound braid. Like the setup was no joke. It was the same kind of bluefin setups that they use up in like Massachusetts and shit like that for those 1,000-pound tunas, you know. So same exact setup. We go and then we drive. We drove the boat probably 100 yards past the gator that we had spot, and then we go, and you know, that whole time when we're driving past, we got the bail open and we're just letting line out. That chicken just staying still. We're letting line out, burning out, and then the deal was it handed me the rod and it just bouncing it like I was fully jigging a chicken for an alligator on Lake Okeechobee, dude. Like I'm sitting there bouncing this chicken off the water, and the chicken, like what attracts the alligator is the vibrations on the water. So that chicken splashing around on the water attracted that gator. Man, this thing turned on a dime and swam straight to it, didn't it? This thing swam probably like 10 miles an hour. So it's like, just like my chicken was going to get smoked, bro. I was like, oh, this is sick, dude. Like, so he went, boom, he smashes it, and then he holds it in his mouth. And like with the alligators, they have this plate in their neck that, so when they eat food, when they bite their food, and they open their mouth to get it, the water doesn't go down into their esophagus and into their body cavity. So they have this plate, but then so the alligator has to throw his head back like you're in college taking a shot of whiskey. You throw your head back and you smash it real quick. And alligator, same deal, dude. Threw his head back, but when he throws his head back, that plate opens up. When that plate opens, I don't know if you guys heard that. My voice just cracked like I was 12. But anyway, I'm excited, dude. I'm talking about gators. It reminds me of my first girlfriend. Anyway. So we're going.
I know what story we're talking about next.
Yeah, where was I? Oh yeah, swallowing chickens. Yeah. Damn, I threw myself off. So yeah, this gill plate opens up and the gator throws it back and the chicken goes down in its gut. So what the gator does is the gator will swim down to or just like whatever it does. However, it gets to the bottom of the lake and it lays there, and it lets its body juices digest that food that it had just eaten, or my chicken in this case. And we're sitting there, and so once we know the thing went to the bottom, we can tell it's out to the bottom. I hand the rod over to one of the deckhands, and we go and we throw a trolling motor on. And we just creep up, and we get right on top of that. And since I don't have any ab control, like I'm paralyzed from the chest down, I wasn't able to reel up my 12-foot alligator. Forgive me, guys. So yeah, dude, I had to pass this over to the decky, dude, and the deckhand pulling up. But so since that chicken went down in its gut and that plate goes, they have a real hard time opening that plate up to regurgitate what their food is, unless they get above water and throw their head back and it opens that plate up, and then they're able to spit it out. Well, you fight them in a certain way to where they can't get that head motion in. So we get right on top of it, and we get this gator up to the very top, and he gets his head right up top of the water, and they handed me a bow, and I went, it was a crossbow. And I went and I shot this gator. So what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to shoot him right behind the eyeballs. And there's like a small softball size area for the brain. And you're supposed to hit that brain so the gator doesn't freak out and flip out and start thrashing. And you want a quick instant kill, as we do with every animal. But I missed, dude. And the arrow with a big old broadhead went through one cheek and out the other cheek. And this gator did not like it, bro. He was pissed, dude. He was just flashing. His tail was bashing up against the boat, and so I don't know if you guys are familiar with the center console boats, but in the very front of the boat, there's like an elevated part where, you go bass fish and you fish off the front of your boat. There's an elevated part right there. Well, they had put me up on that part, and my dad's down in the bottom of the boat, in the hole of the boat, holding onto the back of my chair. So when this gator starts thrashing the boat, dude, hitting the boat, we're rocking and rolling. The only thing my dad has to hold on to is me in my wheelchair. And the only thing that's holding me up is my dad. Like, all the deckhands, everyone's holding on to some part of the boat. But me and my dad are literally sitting there like, oh, shit, don't drop me in the water with a pissed off alligator. That's the last thing I want, dude. But if I was going to go out, dude, that'd be a badass story. But anyway. So we go and we throw the trolling motor on there and rotate the boat a little bit, and they handed me a harpoon. It was like an 8-foot harpoon with a big old steel broadhead on the tip of it. And boom, I chuck. They handed me the harpoon, and at this point, dude, I was so full of adrenaline, dude. I look back on it now and I'm rolling my eyes at myself, but when I threw that harpoon, I totally felt like a caveman. I yelled, dude, and I chucked this harpoon, dude, and boom! I hit it in the back of the head, but I guess I must have just missed it slightly. I don't know, because that gator still had a little bit of fight in him. And he did his thrashing thing. He was pissed, but then they handed me what's called a bang stick. It's like a 6-foot metal rod with a some of them have shotgun shells in the end, but this one had a 357 Magnum round at the very tip. And they handed me that, and then boom, and you just basically just jab it in the back, in that sweet spot, in the brain spot, in the back of the head, and it goes pop, dude, and that bullet goes off, and that was it for the gator. He rolled belly up, and they went and pulled him close to the boat with a rope. They grabbed his mouth, wrapped his mouth shut with the electric tape, because you don't want that business end getting the last bite, dude. So yeah, it was freaking sick, dude. The thing was almost as long as the boat. The boat was like 14 foot. That gator is 12 foot, dude, and yeah, it was on the boat, man. It was the most intense. So it all happened from when we saw the gator and dropped the chicken in the water to where we had the gator on the boat was probably 15 minutes. But that whole adrenaline spot where I shot it with the bow and the harpoon and the bang stick, that was all within like 3 minutes. But it felt like an eternity, man. But it was sick. It was the most adrenaline-filled hunt I've ever had in my life. Hunt, fish, whatever you want to call it. I consider it both. But.
Dude, we're only like 10 episodes in, but you might hold the number one spot on the stories for quite a while.
Man, I could shoot a spike, man, but if I got a cool story about a spike trying to gore me, dude, like that's what I live for, man. The stories are what you remember, you know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Yes, this is the coolest fucking story I ever heard. Like, period.
Yeah, it was insane, dude. It was intense, and yeah, we the only parts of that alligator that we kept were the cheeks and the tail. Everything else is like rock hard rubber. Like those things are built as they're dinosaurs. They're built missiles. They're freshwater missiles. They're out there to kill. And so yeah, we just kept the cheeks and the tail and brought a bunch of meat home. And it was absolutely delicious, man. I love every bite.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Gator meat is very good.
Yeah, it is.
All about it.
Well, man, I don't think I'll ever have a story to top that one.
No, nobody does.
Oh man,
it's fun, man. Memories.
Wait
That's
till you
what it's
guys
all
get
about.
him offline and ask him about his bear story. How old are you again, man?
Me?
Yeah.
35.
Yeah, man. The next 10, 15 years ought to be exciting if you've already got these kind of stories.
Oh, shit.
Am I going to die at 50? Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean, you'll just get a little tired. If you do die, right, it's going to be a great story like we discussed.
I'm like, you know something I don't know, bro? Like, should I go on 4 trips that I've gone on? Like,
So, is there a specific trip or like a fish species that you've got your eye on that you want to go after in the near future?
man, so out here in Southern California, we have those giant mako sharks. And they're the ones where their teeth look like barbed wire. They're all just like jagged everywhere, gnarly. But you can bow fish them out here. You catch them. You catch them on a rod and reel, and you bring it in close, and then you don't catch it on a rod and reel, but no, you chum them in, and you have a certain setup that chums it, but it brings the shark close to the boat, and then from there you can shoot it with a bow, and we have some absolute gargantuan mako sharks, like 1,000-pound makos, dude. Don't get me wrong, I'll shoot 100-pound mako shark, dude, but I just want to do stuff that people are like, oh, a guy in a wheelchair would never be able to pull that off, you know what I mean? Or like have some seed of doubt in their mind. So I like telling people stories, and they're like, really? Like, even in your wheelchair? I'm like, yeah, dude, like you can, we've already gone over it. You can bullshit all you want, dude, or you can go out there and freaking at least try. Even if you fail and you screw up, you know what I mean? You tried, dude, and you can't It's there's the whole saying with the man in the arena. You know, I'd rather be the man in the arena than the man in the stands, wishing he was in the arena. So
100%.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Well. Whenever you bow fish a mako shark, we got to have you back on. I got to hear that story.
Oh,
yeah, fingers crossed. I'm saving up a little penny right now to do just that. So I'm stoked.
Where's your GoFundMe page, dude? I'll throw some money at that.
No kidding.
Yeah, right.
So that, I'm
I'm
buy a plane
not a big
ticket and go.
GoFundMe guy, dude. I'd rather work my butt off, dude, and get some calluses on my hand and
Earn
Hell
it.
yeah.
Earn it.
so.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Incredible.
Yeah, it's
Man, I have.
I can fucking sit here stories all night long. Like just like not just the stories, but just your attitude along with all of it, and the way you tell the stories and I've got nothing, and usually I've always got something. It's just it's fucking
speechless. Man. Good job. That's incredible.
Yeah,
that's a first.
They're a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't know if you guys ever have a chance, but go over to those other guys, the hunt, lift, eat guys. Those guys. If you ever listen to their podcast, I did with them. I tell my bear story, dude, and that's an insane story. Justin knows about that one, dude. I lost a couple of years of my life on that one for sure.
Yeah, I remember hearing that one on the on their podcast, and that's something.
Yeah, just memories. That's just something you wouldn't be able to have those kind of experiences sitting on the couch, dude.
Wow,
absolutely.
So while we're on it, people go find you over here. TA_outdoorsman on Instagram. Where else can they follow this stuff, man? Because it seems like Instagram's your number one spot.
Yeah, I usually do most of the posts and media on Instagram, but I just opened up a YouTube account. I probably got 15 videos up there now, and it's just my little adventures, dude. Just a dude in a wheelchair out there hunting deer, fishing, shooting iguanas, catching sharks, hunting bears, just doing stuff any able-bodied person would do, but I'm in a wheelchair, and hopefully it helps some people in wheelchairs see it, or some people with other disabilities see it, and just finally had enough and finally stop making excuses. Get out there and just do something with your life. Get out the freaking door, dude.
Man, it goes well beyond those guys. Like I can speak for it every time I get to talk to you, man. It makes me want to nut up a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? So it goes well beyond that.
Right on, brother. I appreciate you.
Well, before we close out, I think Justin's got one more picture. I know that we discussed that a little bit beforehand. I want to throw it up and kind of have a caption this moment. You know which one I'm... There it is.
There it is. All those adventures. And then this is what we're going to end with, really?
This is probably one of my most memorable stories. At that moment, I was like, I think I ate too many mushrooms.
And that's why we're ending on this one.
Is that the wind or those trees? But what the hell is going on over there? No, it was cool, man. I get into certain spots on these high elevation freshwater streams, and coming where I'm from in like the city, I guess you call it the city, and I just get into some of these super scenic spots and not a soul around me, and it's just quiet, dude. I zonk out, dude. I don't even pay attention to my rod in the water, dude. I just listen to the stream in my ears, and the wind blowing through the trees, the fresh air, the scenery, the colors, and I zone out, dude. And I get in my head, and I just I say a lot of prayers. I thank God, for being able to just be in those kind of situations and be in those places, dude. And it's like, I enjoy life more in the silence outside than I do having the best time of my life indoors, dude. Like I like getting lost, dude. And being in a wheelchair too is like, we are stuck to a lot of spots that we can't go to. We can't hike to certain spots, you know what I mean? It's not feasible, dude. You could do it. It would take you probably the hours to get there, and that's if it's as the crow flies. If you're going uphill, there's no question it's not going to happen, dude, unless you have some friends to help you. And that spot right there, I usually go up to the local mountains we got up here, and I'll go with a couple buddies, and we'll get lost for a week, and we'll just go up there and fish, dude, and just enjoy it. But yeah, that was me just staring off into the woods, man, just enjoying the sounds and the sights and the smells and all the senses tingling. Yeah, I was stoked.
Oh man, I can speak to that as well, man. There's a whole lot of healing and good soul food out there, man.
Right? Just peaceful.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's definitely a good point to end on, right? You know, there's all these awesome adventures, but at the end of the day, that's one thing we all have in common is, you know, our escape into the water, you know, to go chase these little critters that we like so much. But yeah, Derek, man, this has been awesome. Definitely want to have you on again, because I think you're just going to keep building up a catalog of stories that our listeners are going to really enjoy. But thank you for what you do. You know, it's inspiring and motivating to all of us, and I know it's going to be for everybody that listens to this. So to all the listeners out there, make sure you head over to Instagram and YouTube, look up T8 _ Outdoorsman, and you know, follow along on these adventures, and you know, get some ideas. I know, like I have, for some trips that maybe I didn't know I wanted to do, but now I do. But
let's go.
Let's do it.
You know, well, man, boys, it's been fun. Can't wait to do it again. To all our listeners out there, you know, thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. And but in the meantime, till we can do it again, y'all make sure to keep them lines wet, and we'll catch you on the next cast. See ya.